going back 6 years, 7 years ago, when I was hired as a consultant for essentially what was a webcomic, he came to me, he's like, hey, Reggie, can you help me monetize my content without using ads? I'm like, that's an interesting problem, let me try it. There's nothing as scalable as advertising revenue that exists out there currently. You have subscriptions and you have other monetization models, but they aren't that great. Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. My name is Reggie. I'm the founder and CEO of Hydro, previously Gather Network. I'm also a partner at GAF Capital Partners and the co-founder of Crypto Fight Night, which is an influencer / crypto boxing event we have here in Dubai. A bit about me, I started my career in advertising, working for a Publicis Group-based company before founding my own startup and exiting after that. Before that, I also used to work in family oil and gas. Spent about 2.5 years in northern Iraq. Then I moved into marketing, working with Publicis, and then startups. But that's what led to the birth of essentially what Hydro was 6 years ago. I've been trying to solve this problem for the last 6 years or so. Problem itself, or the problem statement, is that finding another way for the internet to make money without having to rely on ads. There's nothing as scalable as advertising revenue that exists out there currently. You have subscriptions and you have other monetization models, but they aren't that great. That's where Hydro comes in, and going back 6 years, 7 years ago, when I was hired as a consultant for essentially what was a webcomic, he came to me, he's like, hey, Reggie, can you help me monetize my content without using ads? I'm like, that's an interesting problem, let me try it. And what it led from there is I stumbled upon something called CoinHive. CoinHive became famous because their technology was being used by Pirate Bay, but being illegal, Pirate Bay could not monetize. They were using CoinHive to monetize. So what happened was, when you went on Pirate Bay and you searched a torrent, your CPU was actually being used to mine Monero without you knowing. You'd visit Pirate Bay, your fans would spin up, your CPU would go through the roof, but it was mining Monero, and all that Monero was going to Pirate Bay and part of the commission going back to CoinHive. That idea of trading processing power for revenue, genius. That's amazing because that's scalable. But the way they executed it was horrible. From the user experience, all of that was ridiculous. And that's where Hydro V1, or what essentially was Gather V1, was born. Essentially, we publishers, website owners, were getting paid for when their users were visiting their site, their CPU power was being used to secure the blockchain. And we designed it in a way where there was no memory usage or very low memory usage, your fans didn't spin up, etc. So the UX was solved. Over the last 6 years, Gather has now essentially evolved into Hydro, which is a little bit different, if you will. Time availability, so the shift from Gather to Hydro, right? We went live with Gather in 2021, did really well, peaked at about $500 million market cap at one point, institutionally backed, etc. The problem was we were attracting a lot of users very quickly. The model was flawed, is what we discovered. And a few other issues happened along the way, which was being a very successful company, growing rapidly with a lot of reputation, we were presented with a lot of opportunities. Essentially what we did with Gather, and I'll show you why this is leading back into time availability. We cut out all the fluff, or we took out the things that were not core. We started this company to solve how the internet makes money. That's where we came back. Other product lines and services were all cut or benched, or the IP being sold, and that's where Hydro starts. We solve again for the same problem using this concept known as time availability and using a freemium-based business model. What happens? Your user, you as a publisher, every time your user comes to your website, you're getting paid for every second they're on that website. You're getting paid in cryptocurrency specifically, right? Now, how it works is just basic financial engineering and token economics. Everyone who signs up initially is freemium. They have limited sets of features, etc., right? You want advanced features, or you want in-depth data. You want to remove the banner that says monetized by Hydro, and you want advanced rewards or supercharge rewards. You pay $1,000. That $1,000, half of it is used to buy and stake SUI. The other half is used to buy and stake Hydro. So $500 is used to buy and stake SUI. All that SUI is collected together to actually launch and scale their validators, right? So that's where the back end of this actually comes in. The other $500 used to buy and stake Hydro. On the back end, talking about SUI here, what happens is, because we're scaling their validators, we're essentially creating further decentralization, there's a lot of interest from these layer ones, right? You're taking out tokens from circulating supply, and you're increasing their validator count. That is where a lot of the value is created, and that's how these publishers are essentially getting paid. The staking rewards coming from SUI are the layer ones in the future, as example, near AVAX, so and so, without getting too technical. So to kind of sum it up of how it works, and coming back to time availability, the more free publishers you have, a few amount of them will convert into Hydro Paid, or Hydro Plus as it's known. They'll pay the $1,000. A lot of tokens will be staked. That's where the value accrual or value is created, and that's how all these freemium users and everyone is essentially getting paid, is because the staking rewards coming from these L1 networks. And time availability is just basically how we capture and measure the amount of time spent by the user on the website or application. Basically, anyone who owns a website or application and is exploring other ways of monetization. The best type of user is essentially someone with long form content, video, because the longer the people are spending on your website, the more you're essentially earning. So this product is currently live in its previous version with 2,000 publishers. So from gaming, gambling, streaming, you name it, they're already using it and monetizing, and have been for almost two and a half years, to be fair. But streaming sites, long form content, they stand to make the most. So we take a 30% cut of everything that's earned, essentially, right, from all points. So from publisher earnings, from staking earnings, everything, we take a 30% cut. Secondly, the largest revenue item is something called the loyalty program. The loyalty program enables publishers to share part of their revenue with their users, right? Now, if you go to, let's say, nicktradescrypto.com and you enable loyalty, you can share up to 100% of whatever you earn through Hydro. There's a couple of reasons why this feature is pretty important, is that if you have site A and site B providing the same content, you are more likely, statistics show, to go back to the website that's giving you some form of value back, right? So we've actually taken that to another level where users can pay us $6 a year, or $5 a year if you pay for the whole year, or 50 cents a month, and they will get 2x loyalty rewards. So we'll match whatever the publisher would put up to. So say that you're paying 100% of all your earnings from Hydro, we'll put another 100% back to your users. So again, 30% of all earnings in crypto or fiat come to back us. So whatever publisher earns, we take 30%. Whatever comes from the layer one staking rewards comes back to us. The Loyalty Plus is a very, very large revenue generator for us, which is paid in fiat, so it opens up a lot of different avenues for us. These are our two main revenue items. What we've done with Hydro is we've kept it as simple as possible. The value accrual for the token, how revenue is generated, and products and services. We have very limited amount of product services. Alternative form monetization, that's it. How the token accrues value, the integration process, the brand, all of it. Simplicity is the best thing. And in crypto, unfortunately, it's very complex, and that's not going to be great. That's not ideal to onboard the next wave of users.